then the European Union provided medical facilities at the camp, and they're quite good actually now. The medical facility is quite good. They even have a therapeutic feeding center. So they have that. And we are providing livelihood for the Rohingya so that they can go out and get jobs and do something useful. However, between the local community and the Rohingya, there are tensions. Because can you imagine what it would be like? 50% of your population is refugees. So also the government of Bangladesh has enormous problem also, because there's had such a huge number of refugees in one particular area. So this is why the UN now is trying to have a joint initiative to have a program for the whole of the Teknaf area, helping both the refugees and the local community, because Teknaf area is one of the areas of Bangladesh with 44% living below the poverty line. That means your income is only enough to buy food for the family. And 44% of the people so therefore the tensions between local community and Rohingya community is normal. And then you have this attitude problem of civil servants in Bangladesh. The guy in charge of the refugees in Tekna, in Cox's Bazar, when he goes to Bangladesh, he's a senior civil servant. When he goes to Dhaka, his fellow colleagues in the government of Bangladesh civil service make fun of him and said, "Here comes the Rohingya." So you have this very negative attitude towards Rohingya by the officials in Bangladesh. And also a genuine concern what's going to happen with them, because they've been there for so long. So it is a very difficult. I can sympathize to some extent with the situation of the government of Bangladesh. What are they? These people have been here for so many years. What's going to happen to them? But when you see these kids, and we have some volunteers working with us with the Rohingya camp, these young, dynamic, lovely kids, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. So I said, why can't you help me with inputting some stuff in my computer? He can't read or write. He's never had the chance for education. So these kids are not, the local community is trying to provide, within the limits of some sort of education in Burmese, Bangla, and mathematics, and some basic education. But it's still not reaching the whole community. So really, for me, the issue is how do we deal with the root cause? Because dealing with the refugee problem is important. I think Bangladesh government needs support. Bangladesh government needs encouragement by the international community to say, we understand your situation. We think you're doing the right thing by taking care of these refugees. So I think Bangladesh government needs to be encouraged and supported. And the international community has to take responsibility for these people. No, this is not going to be a burden for Bangladesh. This is a burden for the international community until they can return to their homeland. But dealing with the root cause of their thing. And I would agree that that all the ethnic groups in Myanmar should come together and work together to deal with the situation in Myanmar. But the Rohingya is a special group because whether you're Chin or Kachin, you are a citizen of Myanmar. They don't deny your citizenship. But these people are denied their citizenship. So they have nothing and nowhere to go. These are the world's forgotten people. And you were right. 2 weeks we thought there was might be a breakthrough, but then it's lost again. So really, I think that, and Southeast Asian countries really have not come to the grips with this issue, and they lost it they wanted to be purely a security problem or a economic refugees problem or this. They're trying to look at it because none of these countries have signed the International Convention on Refugees. I think this is one thing that has to be done to encourage all the countries in Southeast Asia and South Asia to sign this international convention on refugees. So then there's a basis for them. And I think since the situation is so bad and dire, I think the international community has to come to the thing and try to get some of these refugees going to a third country, give them the chance to achieve refugee status, I think. So really, I think this is just a brief thing, but really, whenever I go to the camp, I go to the camp almost once a month. I'm visiting there. It's such a sad thing, and you have family of 8 people living in a tiny room. But It's still much better than they were living with by the side of the river, and it's much better than those people living around the outskirts of the regular camps. And unfortunately, the people living on the outskirts of the regular camps are not allowed to access to the medical facilities of the United Nations. So really, the situation of Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh is dire, and really it needs all the help that they can get. And you know, and one has to understand the tensions between the local community and between the refugees, and it becomes a political issue. And some of the Rohingya refugees also, because of their situation, have become gangsters, importing drugs, importing weapons. So this also gives a thing for those people who are against the Rohingya to attack them. I mean, this is a small minority of the Rohingya, but then this gives a weapon to create an atmosphere of fear among the community, that these people are dangerous and they're liable to cause terror in the country. So really my main emphasis would be, because when we talk to the refugees, all we want is to get our citizenship back and go back to our country and regain our property which has been lost. We don't want to live in a foreign country. We don't go back. We want to go back to our homeland. But now you're getting a huge number of these young people who can't read or write. What contribution would they be able to make to their community and to their country?
How about, sorry,
Actually, I think we can continue later because it is 5 to 8 o'clock. So we will have a short break and then...
8:05 is the time for breaking fast. 8:05. 8:05.
In that case...
Yeah, and how about setting up the schools in the area? How realistic?
You see, you have to get permission from... Okay, basically my approach would be set up schools that cater for both the local community and the Rohingya community. If you're addressing the needs of both communities, you will not find any resistance from the part of the government of Bangladesh. But if you purely set it up for Rohingya, and our project is limited in this sense, because EU is giving funds purely for Rohingya, and so it does. So I had to generate other projects from my organization, like microcredit for local people, to show that we're as concerned for the local people as we are for the Rohingya. So setting up schools like vocational training, like this school, even look, I think only the education level in that area is one of the lowest in the country. I think only 11% of household heads have finished primary school in Teknaf area. So if we set up a school which would cater for both communities, I think it would be a good idea.
Okay.
And they speak the same language.
Okay.
Yes.
Is the language the same?
Same.
So
The Rohingya language and local language.
This is a dialect.
The Rohingya language is very different from Bangla. And this is why some of our Banglas, when my staff is all of my staff can speak the local language, because if you don't, you won't be able to reach the people.
Ladies and gentlemen.